Welcome back. In this video, we're going to look at Countif and Countifs. In the previous video, we looked at the if function, and we used if on a row-by-row basis to count how many loans satisfied certain conditions. With Countif or Countifs, we can actually do those calculations without having to rely on doing individual calculations or individual if statements per row. So I left what we had from last time up here. So now we're going to do a Countif function. And the way the Countif function works is that the first thing you select is a range. So in this case, our range is going to be our loan amounts. So we select our range. As is typical, I'm going to lock that. And the second requirement is the criteria. Before, our criteria was, is it the loan greater than $200,000? So here, let's go ahead and put greater than and reference our $200,000 cell. Hit enter. And we see a problem with the formula. All right. The problem with the formula is that you're not giving it, it's expecting rather a string variable or a word logical condition in this second argument. So what is it? It's expecting is quotes around this. So let's try that and see what we get. So we get 0%. I think the percent is just an old format, but it's 0 is the answer. And we know that's not right because there were other cells in the past. We knew that loans were actually bigger than $200,000. We can see that one right there is bigger than $200,000, so it's not counting that properly. And the reason is that the condition that we're testing here is whether the loan amount is greater than F3. All right, and it's literally asking for F3. What is F3? It's a letter plus a number. So it's not actually recognizing the cell reference here. So what we have to do in this case, and we're going to do this in the most simple way, is we're just going to type in our $200,000 here. So in this case, it's going to check, is that loan amount greater than $200,000 as a number? Once we make that change, we see that we have 8 loans, just like we had using our if functions and then adding up the ones. All right, so it's really sensitive when we get to the Countif, Countifs, and SUMIF that we see in future videos, that you always have your logical statement in quotation marks. That tells it that it's a word. It's what allows it to do the logical comparison. So in this case, we had greater than 200,000. I'm actually going to leave it to the future to show you in another video how to actually parameterize this so you can directly reference F3 and still have that work there. For the time being, let's actually move from the Countif to the Countifs function, because we might want to count if greater than 200,000 and less than 300,000. So to do that, or actually before we do, let's actually go back and just switch this real quick to less than 300,000, right? That was our other condition. And just verify that we get 9 as our answer, right? We had 9 over here. We still see that 9. So that's working out for us. So now let's change this function now to Countifs. Countifs now allows us to have multiple criteria. So criteria range 1, we're again going to base on our loan amount. And now our first criteria is going to be that greater than 200,000. All right, if we stop right there, we get the same answer we got before, 200,000 loan, or 8 loans of $200,000 or more. But now if we want to layer on our second condition, now it asks us for criteria range 2. We can still stick with loan amount. Since that's what we've been doing, that's what I will continue to do here, but we'll change that up in just a second. All right, so we use that same criteria range. Now we put up quotes less than 300,000. And now we see our 3 loans, right? If we recall, we had 1 loan there, 1 loan there, and 1 loan there that are all between 200 and 300,000. So those are our 3 loans that the Countifs is now picking up on. So it allows us to incorporate multiple criteria at one time. Now, like I said, if we want to, we can change those criteria up, right? So say we want to look at loans greater than 200,000 with interest rates. Now let's change this. Interest rates greater than 10%. All right, let's throw that in there. And we see there are no loans like that. Well, let's see, should there be? Let's see, this loan is greater than $200,000 and greater than 10%. It's 12%, so we should at least be getting 1 in here. So what's wrong? Well, in this case, it's the 10, right? 10 as a number would be 1,000%, not 10%. So let's throw our percentage sign on there. and see if that fixes it for us. So we put our percentage sign, and now we get our two loans. So we could either do 10% with the actual percentage sign, or alternatively, you can come in and put 0.1, which reflects the actual 10% as a number, and we get that same answer. We see our two loans, which would be that loan and that loan. So Countifs allows us to use multiple columns to condition on and multiple different criteria. Right now, we're keeping these criteria quote-unquote hard-coded. We're typing in the numbers, and so these functions are not as flexible as we'd like them to be. We're going to add that flexibility in one of our future videos.